You've ever felt that moment? That precise second when someone looks at you with that smirk, that condescending little smile that says, I know exactly how to get under your skin, and there's nothing you can do about it. Maybe it's your coworker who just took credit for your idea in front of the entire team. Maybe it's that friend who always knows exactly which wound to poke, always disguised as concern, always wrapped in that false sweetness that makes you question if you're just being too sensitive. And here's what happens. Your chest tightens, your throat closes up, and every fiber of your being screams that you need to defend yourself. You need to explain. You need to make them understand that they're wrong, that you're not what they're implying you are. So you start talking, words tumbling out faster than you can control them, your voice slightly higher than normal. Explanations nobody asked for spilling from your mouth like water from a broken dam. And the more you talk, the more you feel it, that sickening sensation of watching your own power drain away, watching them lean back in their chair with that satisfied look, knowing they've got you exactly where they wanted you. You see, they didn't win because they were right. They won because they made you react. They made you scramble. They made you small. And the worst part, the part that keeps you up at 3 in the morning replaying the conversation over and over in your head, is that you did it to yourself. Nobody forced you to explain. Nobody held a gun to your head and demanded justification. You gave it freely, desperately, pathetically. And now you hate yourself for it. If you know this feeling, if you're tired of being the one who always has to prove themselves, if you're exhausted from carrying the weight of other people's judgments and misconceptions, then stay right here, because what I'm about to show you will fundamentally change how you navigate every single power dynamic in your life. Now, before we go further, I need you to understand something crucial. What I'm about to teach you isn't some feel-good psychology. This isn't about affirmations or positive thinking, or pretending you don't care when you actually do. This is about the raw mechanics of social power, the invisible laws that govern every human interaction, whether you're aware of them or not. And here's the thing that nobody wants to tell you. The people who seem to have natural authority, the ones who command respect without demanding it, the individuals who can shut down an attack with nothing but a slight raise of an eyebrow. They're not special. They're not born different. They simply understand something you were never taught. They understand that in the kingdom of human interaction, the one who needs less wins. The one who can sit in silence while others scramble to fill it holds the power. The one who doesn't rush to defend, correct, or explain, that person controls the frame of reality itself. This isn't mystical, it's mechanical. It's cause and effect. It's the law of power that Machiavelli whispered about in The Prince when he wrote that it's better to be feared than loved. But what he really meant was this: it's better to be unmoved than to be eager. The eager one, the one who needs approval, who needs to be understood, who needs to correct every misperception. That person has already lost before the game even begins. Think about the last time someone really got to you. Not just annoyed you, but really penetrated your defenses and made you feel that burning need to set the record straight. What was happening in that moment? They were introducing a narrative, a story about who you are, what you did, what you meant, and that narrative didn't match your internal image of yourself. So your ego, that fragile, needy part of you that constantly seeks validation from the external world, it panicked. It screamed, "No, that's not true. I need them to know the real me. I need them to understand." And in that panic, you handed over your power like a frightened peasant, handing coins to a highway robber. Because here's what you didn't realize: their narrative about you is irrelevant, completely and utterly irrelevant, unless you validate it by responding to it. The moment you engage, the moment you defend, you're essentially saying, your opinion of me matters so much that I'm willing to abandon my center, my calm, my sovereignty just to change. Do-do? And they know this. Manipulators, narcissists, power players, they all know this at an instinctive level. They know that the fastest way to dominate someone is to make them defend themselves, because a person in defense mode is a person who has accepted the frame of the attack. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a king sitting on his throne. Someone bursts into the throne room and shouts an accusation. You're a tyrant, you're cruel, you don't deserve this crown. Now does the king leap from his throne and start listing all his good deeds? Does he pull out scrolls of evidence showing his kindness? Does his voice rise in pitch as he desperately tries to convince this person that they're wrong? No. The king doesn't move. He barely acknowledges the outburst. Maybe he looks at the person with mild curiosity, the way you might observe an unusual insect, and then he returns to whatever he was doing. Because the king understands something fundamental, responding to the accusation would be accepting that this person has the authority to judge him. And they don't. They never did. Their words only have the power he chooses to give them, and he chooses to give them none. This is not arrogance, this is sovereignty. This is understanding that your reality, your sense of self, your worth, these things exist independent of other people's narratives about you. And when you truly embody this, when you truly become the king on the throne instead of the court jester scrambling for approval, something magical happens. People stop attacking you, not because you've become scary or mean, but because you're no longer giving them the reaction that feeds them. You've become boring to manipulators. You've become unprofitable to energy vampires. You've become a wall where they used to find a door. Stop right there because I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with yourself. How many times have you replayed a conversation in your head, hours or even days after it happened? That conversation where someone diminished you, where someone put you down, and you didn't know what to say in the moment. And then you're lying in bed at 3 a.m, constructing all the perfect responses you could have given but didn't. If this has happened to you, I want you to leave a comment right now writing simply, I've been there. You don't need to explain the situation. You don't need to share details if you don't want to. Just write, I've been there. Because you know what happens when you do that? You realize you're not alone. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of people here who will read your comment and think, me too, I thought, just me. And suddenly this pain you've been carrying alone for so long, this feeling that something is wrong with you, it starts to lose its grip. Because you see, it's not your weakness, it's not your defect, it's simply that nobody ever taught you how to handle this. So go ahead, write in the comments, I've been there, and leave your mark here. Because your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to read today to feel less alone. Now let's get practical, because understanding the theory is one thing, but applying it in the moment when your heart is racing and your ego is screaming, that's where the real work begins. I want you to think about your typical response pattern when someone attacks, criticizes, or tries to make you look bad. Most people, and I mean about 95% of the population, they do one of 3 things. They either defend, which we've already talked about, where they launch into explanations and justifications, or they attack back, matching aggression with aggression, which might feel satisfying in the moment, but ultimately just escalates the conflict and makes you look reactive and emotional. Or 3, they collapse. They apologize, they shrink, they take on blame that isn't theirs just to make the uncomfortable moment end. All 3 of these responses have something in common. They're all reactions, not responses. A reaction is unconscious. It's your nervous system taking over. It's your ego in panic mode. Response is conscious. It's strategic. It's you maintaining your center while you decide exactly how much energy this situation deserves. And here's the secret that changes everything. In almost every situation, the most powerful response is no response at all. At least not the kind they're expecting. Let me give you a concrete example. Someone at work makes a snide comment about your presentation. Interesting approach, though I'm not sure it's really thought through. Old you would either start defending the presentation, explaining all the research and thought that went into it, proving that it is indeed thought through. Or you'd fire back with something equally passive-aggressive. Or you'd just feel small and maybe mumble some agreement. New you, the you who understands the laws of power, you do something different. You pause. You let there be silence, just for 2 or 3 seconds, which feels like an eternity, but is actually perfect. You look at them with neutral curiosity, not anger, not hurt, just mild interest, as if they're a specimen you're examining. And then you say something devastatingly simple like, "Okay," or "I appreciate your input," and you move on. And no defense, no explanation, no emotional charge. And here's what happens in that moment. The person who made the comment is completely disarmed. They threw a hook expecting you to bite, and you didn't. They tried to pull you into their frame, into a debate about whether your work is good enough, and you refused to enter. You maintained your reality where your work stands on its own merit and doesn't need their approval. And everyone watching sees it. They see someone who tried to diminish you, and they see you remain completely unshaken. That's power. That's real, tangible social power that changes how people treat you going forward. But here's where it gets deeper, and this is the part that most people miss. This isn't just about external tactics, about what you say or don't say. This is about internal work, about genuinely reaching a place where you don't need other people's validation to know your worth. Because if you try to use these techniques as a mask, if you're sitting there in silence while internally you're screaming and defending and explaining, people will sense it. Humans are incredibly attuned to incongruence, to when someone's outer presentation doesn't match their inner state. So the real work, the work that transforms you from someone who's just pretending to be powerful into someone who actually is powerful, that work happens in the quiet moments alone. It happens when you catch yourself rehearsing arguments in your head, and you consciously stop. It happens when you notice yourself checking social media obsessively to see if people liked your post, and you close the app. It happens when you feel that familiar anxiety about what someone thinks of you, and instead of trying to fix it or figure it out, you just sit with the discomfort and let it pass like a wave. This is how you build real immunity to manipulation, not by having better comebacks, but by genuinely not needing the fight in the first place. There's a concept in dark psychology called strategic indifference, and it's one of the most potent tools in your arsenal once you understand how to wield it. Strategic indifference doesn't mean you don't care about anything. It means you've consciously chosen what deserves your emotional investment and what doesn't. Most people operate in reverse. They're deeply invested in the opinions of people they don't even respect. They're emotionally reactive to strangers on the internet. They're devastated by the judgment of family members whose values they don't even share. It's complete madness when you actually examine it. Strategic indifference is about reclaiming that energy. It's about looking at each situation and consciously deciding, does this person's opinion actually matter to my life, my goals, my well-being? And if the answer is no, and it almost always is, you don't feed it energy. You don't defend, you don't attack, you don't even really engage. You acknowledge and move on, the same way you'd acknowledge a cloud passing overhead. It's there, you see it, and it has zero impact on your trajectory. Now, I want to address something important because I know some of you are thinking this sounds cold. Sounds like I'm telling you to become some emotionless robot who doesn't care about anything. That's not it at all. This is actually about caring more, about caring deeper, but caring selectively. When you stop wasting your emotional energy on every petty slight, every misunderstanding, every person who wants to drag you into their drama, you suddenly have so much more capacity for the things and people that actually matter. Your relationships with people you genuinely love become richer because you're not drained. Your work becomes better because you're not scattered. Your sense of self becomes solid because it's not constantly being negotiated and renegotiated based on external feedback. This is what sovereignty actually means, not isolation but discretion, not coldness but clarity about where your energy goes. Let me share with you a 7-day challenge, a practical framework you can start implementing immediately to rewire these response patterns. Day 1. Catch yourself explaining. Every single time you start to explain yourself when nobody asked for an explanation, stop mid-sentence. Just stop. Say, "Actually, never mind," and move on. It will feel incredibly uncomfortable. That's how you know it's working. Day 2, practice the pause before responding to or anything that feels charged. Anything that makes your heart rate spike, count to 3 in your head. Breathe, then respond. Or don't. Day 3, reduce your words by half. In every interaction, especially ones where you typically overtalk, say half as much as you normally would. Let there be silence. Let others fill it. Day 4, notice your need for approval. Every time you catch yourself checking if someone liked something, agreed with you, thought you were smart or funny or good, just notice it. Don't judge it. Just observe it like a scientist. Day 5, practice strategic difference. Pick one person whose opinion typically bothers you, and for this entire day, treat their words like weather. Acknowledge, don't absorb. Day 6, embrace misunderstanding. Let someone be wrong about you and don't correct them. Let them think whatever they think and notice that the world doesn't end. You survive their incorrect perception. Day 7, embody the king. In every interaction today, imagine you're that king on the throne. Nobody can make you scramble. Nobody can make you small. You respond from center, from choice, never from reaction. If you do this challenge, genuinely, if you actually implement these practices instead of just nodding along and forgetting about them tomorrow, you will notice a shift. It might be subtle at first. Maybe someone who usually gets under your skin tries their usual tactic, and it just doesn't land the same way. Maybe you find yourself less anxious about a social situation that would typically stress you out. Maybe someone tries to bait you into an argument and you just smile and say nothing, and they look confused because their old playbook doesn't work anymore. These are the signs that you're changing, that you're moving from a reactive state to a responsive state, from a position of weakness to a position of power, and it compounds. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes, until one day you realize you haven't defended yourself in weeks because nobody's been attacking you. They stopped, because you stopped being an easy target. You stopped providing the reaction that made it fun for them. Here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. The world is not fair. People will judge you incorrectly. They will misunderstand you. They will project their issues onto you. They will try to make you small to make themselves feel big. This is not going to change. No amount of explaining, defending, or proving will change this fundamental reality of human nature. But what can change is your relationship to it. You can stop participating in the game where your worth is up for debate. You can stop entering the courtroom where you're always the defendant. You can step out of that entire paradigm and into a new one where you are the sole authority on who you are and what you're worth. And from that place, from that centered, sovereign, unshakable place, you interact with the world differently. Not with aggression, not with defensiveness, but with a calm power that people can feel even if they can't name it. This is what it means to embody the law of power. Not to dominate others, but to be undominatable yourself. So here we are at the end, and if you made it this far, it's because something in this video resonated with you. And I know exactly what you're feeling right now. That mix of relief from finally understanding what's been happening, and at the same time that anxiety of wondering if you can actually change this. I want to tell you something, you're not alone in this. There are thousands of people on this channel who were exactly where you are right now. People who also woke up with that tightness in their chest, who also lost sleep replaying conversations, who also felt small in the presence of others. And today they're different, not because they became different people, but because they learned to position themselves, to occupy their own space, to no longer bend under every pressure. And you know how it started? With the decision to stop accepting crumbs of respect and start building real presence. Here on this channel, every week I bring content like this, practical strategies you can apply today, insights into the psychology of power that will completely change how you relate to people. This isn't about becoming cold or arrogant. This is about reclaiming what was always yours, the right to exist without asking permission, If this makes sense to you, if you're tired of being stepped on and want to finally learn to position yourself with strength and dignity, then subscribe to this channel. Hit that red button below. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos, because each video is a piece in this transformation journey. And if this content helped you in any way, if you felt like someone finally understands what you're going through, leave your like here so more people who need this message can find this video. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, you don't need to explain yourself to anyone anymore.